Let's now bring in retired Lieutenant General Steph Twitty. He's the former deputy commander of the U.S. European Command, and he's, of course, an NBC News military analyst. So, Steph, what do you make of these attacks by the Houthis, and what do you think their endgame is?
Well, this is nothing more than malign influence by Iran. Iran uses these proxy groups such as Hezbollah, the Palestinian jihadist groups that are coming out of the West Bank, Hamas, and the Houthis to conduct these type of operations so they can deny involvement. And I think that Iran has fingerprints all over this. I think they will continue to do this. And the intent is twofold. Number one is to try and bring the U.S. into this war. And number two is to disrupt the shipping lanes in order to broaden this war, not just from a localized war between Hamas and Israel, but to broaden it from a regional perspective where you bring the U.S. in and also interdict the shipping lanes and create havoc within the region.
And given that there's been so much activity by some of these Iranian proxies, like you mentioned, talk to me a little bit about this concern about a wider regional war. I know that you're concerned about the U.S. being dragged into this conflict, but there's the possibility that even if the U.S. doesn't get directly involved, that some of these other countries, some of these other groups could also get involved at a higher level.
Well, I think United States Central Command, as well as our Department of Defense, our Secretary of Defense, they are doing a great job in using measured responses to this. They're not playing tit for tat. They're not trying to expose the U.S. military capability by attacking an all-out attack on them. What they're doing is protecting our interests, but also protecting our troops in the region and protecting the shipping lanes. And that's what they should be doing, and not expose ourselves to where we would conduct an all-out attack and perhaps bring ourselves into this war at a greater level, or our allies into this war on a greater level.
All right, let's talk about the situation now in Gaza. And you mentioned Secretary Austin. He said over the weekend that Israel risked what he called a strategic defeat if it doesn't protect the civilians in Gaza. Explain to me. I mean, you're someone that has had to strategize situations like these. How do you balance the offensive combat operations without radicalizing the population in Gaza? Is Israel taking the necessary precautions to avoid that?
Well, look, I've been in this situation a couple of times, and it's hard. Part of urban warfare is you have to keep in mind the non-combatants, the civilian population. They become just as top priority as killing the enemy. In this case, you have the Israelis. They're going after Hamas pretty hard. They're attacking to defeat the enemy. But they also have to worry about the civilian population, make sure that they're taking care of them humanitarian-wise, medical-wise, and not creating more enemies. And I think that's what Secretary Austin was getting after. You have to sort of do both in this type of warfare. You have to protect the population. You have to make sure the population is being fed, clothed, in hospitals and doing the right things there in terms from a medical standpoint, but also make sure you do not put them in a situation where they'll be in harm's way as well. And it's very difficult to do because Gaza is so dense. And so the Israelis, they have their hands full trying to separate the enemy from the population.
Yeah, and I guess that's my next question is, should Israel be reassessing their approach here? They've really dedicated a lot of time to these mass bombardments in these densely populated areas. Could they be more successful with a more targeted ground offensive where they might be able to at least differentiate between civilians and active war participants? Is that even possible? Would that work better?
Well, I think what you're dealing with here is, remember, the Israelis, they also have to protect their own troops as they conduct these operations. And they're fighting not just on ground, but they're also fighting subsurface. Many of these tunnels, you have to use the type of munitions that they're using in order to destroy them. And as they conduct these operations and they fire munitions at these tunnels, you could have secondhand explosions from ammunition depots that are in these tunnels. You can have explosions simply because, you can have damage simply because it's so dense, and they go after these tunnels, and then buildings around the tunnels collapse. And so you're seeing a lot of damage because of the density. Mm-hmm. And so Israel will have to do some precision strikes, precision operations to prevent the majority of this. But they're also going to have to conduct the operations like they're conducting them now, where they're going to have to use all-out munitions if they really want to destroy Hamas. So that's the dilemma that we're in.
Yeah, not an easy situation whatsoever. Lieutenant General Steph Twitty, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.